Be sure to pause or rewind the video as needed. Hello 4-H members and 4-H leaders, and welcome to the crime scene investigation of the Barefooted Burglar. To start off, you guys should have your little baggie with all your items in it. I took all of my items out right now, so if you guys want to take out all your items out and spread them on the table so we can have a good look at them while we're going through our investigation, that would be great. I'm going to let you guys get that ready right now. And we're now going to go through the crime scene report. So if you guys want to take out your papers, you should have one that looks just like this. And we are going to go through the crime scene report right now. So if you guys want to read along with me, that would be great. At approximately 7:15 a.m. Friday morning, Miss Peterson, the 7th grade science teacher, thought something was fishy as she walked down the hall and noticed that her door was open. She walked into a classroom and immediately discovered that the small aquarium had been broken into, and her prized goldfish were gone. A can of blue paint was spilt on the floor. Footprints of a barefooted burglar led to an open window. There was also a half-eaten Laffy Taffy, and the only other evidence of the scene was a note from the suspect. When the police arrived, they immediately began to gather forensic evidence. Sticky fingerprints were lifted up from the aquarium, the painted footprints were measured, the pink Laffy Taffy was collected for examination. It appeared that there were teeth imprints. The note was collected to take back for completing a handwriting analysis with multiple suspects. Using the clues found at the crime scene, determine which of the suspects is the barefooted burglar. What do you think was the motive for this crime? Write the results of your findings and convince a jury of your peers. Best of luck on your search for the barefooted burglar. Okay, we are now going to go look through the suspects that we have listed. There are 6 of them, and they're going to be right below the crime scene report. The first one is Lulu, a 2nd grader at the school who was seen on the cameras walking through the hallways around 7 a.m. The second one is Janitor Jingles, the school janitor who was the last one seen in Miss Peterson's room when he was taking out the trash. The third one was Mrs. Millie, the 3rd grade teacher at the school who has a love of fish. JoJo Jones, the school mischief who never stays out of trouble. 5, Sally Silver, the smartest and most sassy girl in school who claims she knows who stole the fish but will not tell the school who. And Larry Lyles, the best liar in school who gets away with everything. Who do you think the suspect is based off of these motives? Now that we have the background information of the crime scene report and our suspects, we can start testing the evidence. So, let's get our thinking caps on and let's start with number 1, taking notes. So if you look through your bag, you'll have all of your items laid out here. You will have a pen. It might not be exactly this color, but it will be in a little baggie like this. So let's take that out and let's grab our notepad because this is what we will use to take notes. So while trying to figure out exactly who our suspect is, we want to use our pad and our pen to take notes on the evidence we find. You can make guesses on who you might think it is, or you can use your evidence to support your argument, and the notepad will help you keep track of this. Now this pen is no ordinary pen. If you see it has a little white strip on it right here, you want to pull that out so you are able to use the flashlight. There's a little button on here, the flashlight, and it's also not an ordinary flashlight because if you notice, when I color on my notepad, you don't see any writing. It is writing, but you don't see it. So, when you plug this back in and you turn on your flashlight, it's actually a blue light pen. So if you can see through the camera there, you can see the scribbles I made. And this is kind of just a fun way to hide the information that you're writing down. Next on our list of evidence we have the handwriting analysis. So for this part, you will need your 2 pieces of paper that have notes on them. There's a column A and a column B notes. You want both of those for the handwriting analysis. Can you match the suspect's handwriting? There are 6 suspects and each one wrote a letter in column A to the detectives about why they are not the suspect. This will help us compare the suspect's writing from column A to column B, which has the actual note from the crime scene. So, in column A, you will see the suspect's notes that they wrote so that we can compare the actual letter left at the crime scene, which is in column B. Let's go through the suspect notes. While we are going through them, take a look at maybe how they write their T's, write their Y's, maybe how they dot their I's, whether the handwriting is sloppy or clear, whether things are spelt wrong or spelt right. And what you want to look for is a suspect note in column A that matches the closest with a suspect note in column B. Janitor Jingles suspect note. I took out the trash that night and left. I have no idea who it could be. The last person I saw in there was Miss Peterson herself. Good luck finding the thief. Signed, Janitor Jingles. The Larry Lyles suspect note. I may be a good liar, but honestly, I don't know who did it. And I sure as heck did not do it. Ask Sally. She knows who did it. At least she claims she does. Signed, Larry Lyles. JoJo Jones suspect note. There is no possible way it was me. I was outside at recess and I would never do such a thing. Also, fish are slimy. You have no evidence it was me. I am innocent. Signed, JoJo Jones. Suspect note from Lulu. I don't know who did it. I was using the bathroom. Signed, Lulu. Suspect note from Miss Millie. The only motive you have for me is that I like fish. I can assure you it was not me. Signed, Miss Millie. Suspect note from Sally Silver. It is certainly not me, but I do know who did it. I will not tell who did it because it is my secret. And lastly, we are going to read the note that was left at the crime scene. Miss Peterson, thank you for your kind donation of fish. This will be a great addition to my new fish tank at home. Sorry about the spilt paint. Or not. Ha ha ha. You'll never catch me. I love fish, but you'd never expect it was me, and I get into so much trouble. But how would you know? No one catches me because I am the smartest. Sincerely, Thief. When comparing the suspect notes in column A, whose do you think matches the best with the crime scene note in column B? You may now talk around with your peers or maybe some leaders to help you figure out who you think's note matches the best. Good luck! Our next task is the fingerprint classification. So for this task, you are going to need this little round black pad and your fingerprint classification sheet. Let's take a look at what our evidence sheet says. Use the finger pads. Not every bag has one, so you can share with club members, and put your fingers in it one at a time to see what type of fingers you have on the fingerprint cards. You can also use alcohol pads to wipe your fingers after putting them in the ink pad. And here is an example of an alcohol pad. Your fingerprints might show up as loops, whorls, arcs, and a little of everything. Every person in the world has a different shape of lines on their fingers, which helps detectives figure out exactly which person committed a crime, because they can collect fingerprints from crime scenes. This is just for fun and does not pertain to the suspects. Okay, so I have my fingerprint pad here, and I'm going to take it out of the bag. And when we open it up, you can see that there is black ink in it. Just barely. And when you press your finger into that and put it on the right slot where it's supposed to go, it'll show up on here, and then you can use the back to figure out if you have loops, swirls, or arches. So at the top of this, you can see it says R thumb. And that stands for right thumb, and then on the bottom it'll say L thumb, and that stands for left. So on the top is all of your right fingers, on the bottom is all of your left fingers. So let's put our thumbs in here. I'm going to start with my right thumb, and I'm going to press it into the ink pad, hold it there for a little bit. See, I have some black ink on there, and then I'm just going to press it down onto my sheet. And hold it there, and then when you take it off, you have an inked finger on your sheet. Now we're going to give you guys some time so that you can do each of your fingers and put them on the sheet. And then once you're finished, we're going to go through what type of fingerprint you might have. So looking at mine, on my thumb, it's looking pretty whirly. So there are some loops, there's some whorls, and there's some arches. My thumb is definitely a whorl fingerprint. So investigators could use this to figure out each line where they are at and use it to find fingerprints at a crime scene so they can figure out exactly who the suspect is. Using your fingerprint card and your ink to do your fingers, figure out which type of fingerprint you have. Don't forget to use the wipes when you're finished to wipe off the ink off of your fingers. Next up for evidence, we have the feet can measure the height, and this one does pertain to the suspects. So let's go through it on our paper here. This one does require a little bit of math, so we want to pay extra close attention. Forensic anthropologists team up with law enforcers to help solve crimes. Bones of the feet can actually reveal an interesting fact about an individual. Let's combine math with forensics to see how. For this activity, not everyone has a ruler, so please team up with someone and help each other figure out your feet and height. I do have some conversion tips listed here to help you out with the math, so use that as need be. First, you want to place your heel of your left foot against a wall. Measure the length of the left foot from where the heel touches the wall to tip of the toe. Measure that in centimeters and record those measurements on a notepad. Now, complete the equation like the one below. Use a calculator or internet calculator and record this final number on your notepad. What do you notice? Do you see a pattern with any of your friends? How does your height compare to the height in the equation? Now that you are all done measuring your feet and height in centimeters, do you notice anything on how they correlate together? When a forensic scientist has the length of a foot, the forensic scientist will be able to approximate the height of the individual. This is because that it is said that the bones in your foot correlate to the height of your whole body. Your foot is approximately 15% of your height. Now we are actually going to figure out the evidence for your suspects. So in this little piece of paper you have, it will have the suspect feet measurements in centimeters for column A, and then it will have the height in column B for the actual suspect on the crime scene. Now the suspects in column A each have their foot size listed in centimeters, and then in column B will be the actual height of the suspect. The height listed for the suspect is actually in feet and inches, so you're going to want to convert that to centimeters later on to figure out an accurate reading. Compare the height listed in column B to figure out which one it matches after you do the math for column A. Make sure to do the math for all of the suspects so you can get an accurate reading. You may use a calculator or a computer to help figure out your equation. Your equation for column A is 15 divided by 100 equals the foot length in centimeters divided by x. You are trying to find x, and your foot in centimeters is whatever suspect you are measuring. So for Lulu, it is 17.1 centimeters. That will be the reading you will use for foot in centimeters divided by x. Whatever x equals for each of your suspects in your column A equation will be very similar to your column B height in centimeters. So keep a lookout on for that, and good luck on finding the suspect's foot and height lengths. Okay, so now that you guys hopefully finished up some math, let's play a fun little game. This is for a lie detection test, but just remember this is just for fun and does not pertain to the suspects. The game is called 2 Truths and 1 Lie. To play, everyone sits or stands in a circle. One by one, each person in the circle says 3 statements about him or herself. 2 of these statements must be facts or truths, and 1 statement must be a lie. The other members then try to guess which statement is the lie. There are a few things to keep track of how to tell when a person is lying. For example, the person might change their head position quickly, their breathing might change, they might stand still or be jittery, they might repeat their words or phrases, give out too much information, touch or cover their mouth, shuffle their feet, stare without blinking, look away from you, become sweaty, and stutter. So have fun and good luck finding your lies and truths. Okay, next up we have the blood splatter analysis. So to prepare for this, you are going to want your latex gloves, your little bottle of fake blood, your pipette, and your plate. Prepare by putting your disposable gloves on for this analysis. Using the fake blood in the dropper bottles, squeeze some into your pipette, and then using your paper plate, Drop some of the blood onto the plate with a pipette from 5 feet in the air. Measure the diameter of the blood drops using a ruler and then add all of those blood droplets diameters together and divide by the number of droplets to get the average. Based on the varying sizes and shapes of the blood drops, investigators can often tell what type of weapon caused by the spatter, determine the general area where the attack occurred, and track the positions of the victim. The higher the blood drop falls from, the larger the diameter of the blood drop. This is just for fun and does not pertain to the suspects. Okay, I have my disposable gloves on and I have my container. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to set the cap down on the side. And as you can see, there's a little topper on here. What you're going to want to do is just pop it off just like that. Set that over on the plate so you don't make a mess. I already got some on me, so luckily I have my gloves on. Next, I'm going to take my pipette and you want to press down and then release on the top. As you can see, it's bringing the fake blood up into the pipette. And now you have it ready to use so that you can drop it onto the plate from 5 feet in the air. Okay, so I just finished my blood splatter analysis, and as you can see, some of my dots are in varying sizes. This one up here is a lot smaller because I only dropped it from about a foot up. This one down here is much larger because I dropped it from about 5 feet, and I have a few other varying sizes because I varied where I dropped my droplets. And this also helps investigators determine what type of weapon was used, how the attack occurred, where it occurred, how hurt the victim might be. So using the blood splatters from investigation for a crime scene is kind of how investigators get more information on what exactly happened. Be sure to make use of your alcohol pads if you have any messes on your fingers from the blood, or the ink pads so that you don't get too messy. Last but not least, we have our bite mark analysis, and this one does pertain to the suspect and it gives you a little chance to have a treat possibly. So for this one, you are going to need your column A bite marks and your column B bite marks on these sheets, and then you are going to need a Laffy Taffy. Okay, so for this activity, what we're going to need you to do is bite into your Laffy Taffy. We don't want you to bite all the way through it though, because we want to be able to see the impressions you made with your bite mark. So just make that little impression on the side of your Laffy Taffy, and then we can see what type of bite mark you have. Some of you might have slanted teeth, maybe some missing teeth, maybe braces, and a lot of other different characteristics that make your teeth different from other people's. You can also measure the width of your bite mark to figure out how wide yours is compared to others, because as we know, the older you get, you'll get your adult teeth, and some of you might still have your baby teeth. Only examine your own bite marks just because we don't want to be spreading germs. Okay, so I have my Laffy Taffy opened up here, so I'm just going to make my impression and then let go. So if we see in here, I didn't take a huge bite, but I didn't bite all the way through, so you can see my back teeth impressions. It might be a little clearer when you guys do it in person, but you kind of get the idea where I didn't bite all the way through, but you get my back and front teeth impressions. Okay, so now that you guys have all examined your own bite marks, you may feel free to eat the candy if you want. And then we'll actually start moving on to the evidence that the suspects left for our bite mark analysis. So now what we're going to want to do is look at the suspect bite marks in column A and compare them to the column B bite mark, which was the actual one that was left at the crime scene. We're going to want to look at different impressions that these bite marks made, look for that slanted teeth, missing teeth, baby teeth, adult teeth, and compare which crime scene Laffy Taffy you think looks most like one of these suspects' Laffy Taffys. Good luck! Congratulations, detectives! You have finished looking at all of the evidence and completing every analysis to figure out who the suspect is. Talk it out with your peers and leaders to see which suspect matches all of the evidence you found. Once you have come to a consensus, you can email Burleigh County Extension to see if your group was correct. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being great detectives.